welcome back to my channel. Today we are breaking down the science behind how to build muscle without gaining fat. I know a lot of people out there want to build muscle. You know, you want to build a booty, you want to build some shoulders, you want to build some hamstrings, but to do that, you're told you have to eat in a calorie surplus, you have to gain weight. And this is scary because eating in a surplus can lead to gaining fat. And if the idea of gaining fat is terrifying to you for whatever reason, that might stop you from going down the path that you need to go down to reach your aesthetic goals because you're scared of what some of the side effects might be. This is what I see for a lot of skinny fat people who want to look leaner, they want to look more toned, but they don't have a lot of muscle. And so they're at a higher body fat percentage. And the way to fix being skinny fat and look more lean and toned is to build muscle. But oftentimes these people will say, well, I already have a lot of excess body fat. I don't want to go into a surplus because then I'm just gonna gain more fat. Like, that's the opposite of what I want. But this fear is stopping you from putting on the muscle that you need in order to see the muscle definition that you want to see. So I wanted to approach this from an angle where hopefully it will make you feel a little bit more comfortable pursuing muscle building and put you in a space where you will minimize the fat gain that may come with doing a bulk. So in this video, I'm going to break down everything that you need to know to maximize muscle building while minimizing fat gain and the science behind all of it. So if you're excited, give this video a big thumbs up and let's get straight into it. So the first thing that we're gonna talk about is nutrition, because this is like the main part of it. And the big point about nutrition when it comes to building muscle and minimizing fat gain is that you need to be a lot more precise with what you're doing with your nutrition. You can't just like throw everything at your body and expect to build muscle and not gain any fat. So step one here is to determine your actual TDEE, your total daily energy expenditure, which is your maintenance calories. Do not use a calculator to do this. A calculator doesn't know you, it doesn't know your body. It could be off by literally hundreds of calories. I have a whole video about how to actually accurately calculate your TDEE. If you want to get into the nitty-gritty, I will link that below. But in short, what you're gonna do is just track your calorie intake for 2 to 3 weeks, track your weight over those 2 to 3 weeks. If your weight is stable, then you just average out your calorie intake, and those are your maintenance calories. And then for most people, in order to build muscle, you just need to eat more than your TDEE. And how much more, I'll discuss in just a minute, but just to emphasize, like, this is the part that needs to be precise. If you're not tracking, you're just guessing, which means you're guessing as to whether or not you're going to put on muscle and not put on fat, or you're just gonna put on a ton of fat. And if you're not comfortable tracking because you have a bad relationship with food or a bad relationship with numbers, like, that's okay. You totally don't have to do things this way. Your results are just not going to be as optimized and efficient and precise, which again, totally okay if that's the approach that you want to take. And as far as how to track goes, I recommend using MyFitnessPal. It is a comprehensive fitness and nutrition tracker. You can track what you eat, what you drink, your weight, your exercise, and with the premium membership, you can get a lot more customization within the app. You can get like a lot more expert guidance, so it's like having like a nutritionist and a trainer like in your pocket. Now, MyFitnessPal is sponsoring this video, but it is my go-to recommendation anyway. Like, I've literally been using them for years. I've tried other apps, like I keep trying other things to see if it's gonna be better, and I always come back to MyFitnessPal. Like, for me, it's just the most intuitive and the most efficient way to track. Like, that's something that I hear from a lot of people that are hesitant to track, is like, oh my God, it's gonna take so much time. MyFitnessPal, at least for me, has been the quickest and most efficient and most intuitive, so I would absolutely start there. The quick tools that are built into MyFitnessPal make it super easy to do these things super fast. You can scan barcodes, you can save meals, you can save recipes right in the app so you can quickly refer back to them. They have over 14 million foods in their database already, which is one of the big reasons that this is my app of choice. I eat some really random, obscure, bougie health foods, and with all of the other apps, when I've tried to input those, I had to like spend the time creating a new food and like logging all of the information that's like on the nutritional label. But with MyFitnessPal, 99% of the time, those random, weird, obscure, bougie foods are already in the app, so it makes it a lot quicker. I personally love the premium version for letting me customize the dashboard to show the macro breakdown on top instead of just the total calories, but you can also customize it based on whatever nutrients you want to focus on. Like, if you specifically wanted to track like sugar, fiber, and protein. You can put those at the top of your dashboard. And the premium version lets you be more specific with your macro goals, which is really helpful for any aesthetic goals. And as I was talking about for building muscle without gaining fat, precision is everything. So this feature is super helpful. I also see MyFitnessPal as a very educational tool. So they don't believe in a one-size-fits-all approach to nutrition. And with the premium membership, you get customized nutrition and fitness information based on your goals. And it just, tracking your food gives you so much insight into what you're eating, and it allows you to see trends a lot more clearly. So you can notice that, like, if you eat higher carb, you feel this way, or if you eat more protein, you feel this way. Like, it's so educational. So if you want to check it out and use MyFitnessPal on your journey, you can click the link in the description to get 1 month of MyFitnessPal Premium for free. And if you're already a user of MyFitnessPal, you can still do this and get like a free trial of the premium, which is amazing and I recommend. So again, link in the description, 1 month free trial, premium for free. Check it out. So with that said, let's dive into specifically how to like really refine and optimize your nutrition to build muscle without gaining fat. When it comes to the amount of calories that you need to eat to build muscle, there's just like, if you Google this, you'll find a lot of answers saying that you need to eat 300 to 1,000 extra calories to build muscle. And this, well, maybe, you know, if you're already eating 4,000 calories a day, adding an extra 1,000 calories a day may be the most efficient way to just pack on as much muscle as possible. This is not what I recommend if you're also trying to minimize fat gain. Like, that size of a surplus is pretty unnecessary and aggressive if you're really trying to minimize fat gain. So how do we determine the actual size of the surplus? This is where the science comes in and where we need to understand how the human body like actually builds muscle. Here's the thing, women can reasonably gain about 1/2 pound to 1.5 pounds of muscle per month. Men can reasonably gain about 1 to 2 pounds of muscle per month. Now, there's definitely some outliers out there and some reasons why someone may fall outside of that category, but like that's kind of what's to be expected. And some factors that influence this are your starting body composition, your hormones, your genetics, your overall health. Like, the healthier you are, the easier it's going to be to build muscle. And if you're genetically inclined to build a ton of muscle, then you're probably gonna build on the higher end of the amount of muscle that you can build. So let's do the actual calorie math on this expected rate of muscle gain. 1 pound of muscle contains about 700 calories, but it takes the body about 2,500 to 2,800 calories to build and like synthesize a pound of muscle. This means if you're about an average female, so you can probably build about 1 pound of muscle per month, you need a surplus of 2,800 calories over the course of the month. So divided by 30. This comes out to just 93 calories per day as your surplus. If you're a guy who has good muscle building genetics, let's say you can expect to build 2 pounds of muscle per month, you're gonna need a surplus of only 187 calories per day. This is nowhere near the surplus of 300 to 1,000 calories a day that people are recommending. But this would be a very generalized recommendation. So let's dive a little bit deeper into how we can kind of refine these numbers based on your body type and your history and all of that good stuff. Here's the interesting thing. Muscles that are overloaded properly, so like with a good workout program that's phased and you apply progressive overload and all that good stuff, we'll talk about training in a second, can grow even in a calorie deficit. This is because as you are in a calorie deficit, the energy that is liberated from your fat stores as you're burning fat can be utilized to build muscle. And this is especially true if you fall into one of the following categories. The first category is newbies. Newbies for the win. If you have never done resistance training before, your body is primed to adapt and respond. Newbie muscles aren't used to the stimulus, so they'll see growth in the beginning almost no matter what. The next group of people are overweight or obese individuals. Since they have a surplus of energy stores, the body can build muscle from the calories in the fat stores. Then we have detrained individuals. So people who have been resistance training before, but have taken a break because of injury or whatever life circumstances and have lost muscle. Muscle memory makes it easier to rebuild muscle that has been lost. So if you used to have 5 to 10 more pounds of muscle on your body at any point, it's gonna be a lot easier to build it the second time. And then finally, we have individuals using anabolic steroids. I don't recommend this one, but it is a way to hack the system and build muscle easier. But again, it has a lot of side effects, so I don't really recommend it. But ample nutrients, i.e. a surplus of protein and carbs and total calories, can greatly enhance the muscle building response. So even though you can build muscle in a calorie deficit, muscle growth is much more efficient when you are in an energy surplus. So I don't recommend thinking, okay, I want to build muscle, but I don't want to gain fat, so I'm going to eat in a surplus and train to build muscle. Like, that's really not going to be efficient. So that's on the low side of how much you might have to eat to build muscle, is being in an actual energy deficit. On a high side, there are some factors that may contribute to you being able to eat even more than the numbers that I gave you and still just maximize muscle growth and minimize fat gain. And these people are basically the same people that can build muscle in a deficit, because these people are in states where their body is basically primed to build muscle as opposed to try to gain fat, no matter what. So first is just if you're genetically inclined to build more muscle, like this is the biggest one. It's obviously not something you can change, but it is a great advantage. And then again, newbies, since your body's primed to build muscle, you can probably get away with a little bit more of a calorie surplus because your body's just gonna turn that into muscle. Detrained individuals, since your body can build muscle faster and it's gonna require more calories to do that, then it's going to be able to take advantage of a slightly bigger surplus. Also, anabolic steroids, again, don't really recommend this. But then lastly, if you have optimized recovery, the better your recovery from your workouts, the more muscle you'll be able to build, therefore the bigger your surplus can be without gaining fat. Basically, if you've been consistent for a while and training well and doing everything right, it's gonna be harder to put on muscle, which is not a fun reward for being consistent, but that's just how it is. But if you are one of the people that has some sort of advantage in building muscle, you could get away with eating anywhere from like a 200 calorie deficit to like a 200 to 300 calorie surplus. And if you're not one of the people, you're just gonna have to be a little bit more conservative. So how do you actually decide? Marissa, what is the actual answer here? You're gonna hate me. The answer is that it depends. Unfortunately, there is no universal answer. You kind of have to use trial and error and refine from there and figure out what works best for your specific body. Even though I can't give you a specific answer, I can give you my personal recommendation. And this is to start with a 100 calorie surplus per pound of muscle that you expect to build in a month based off of what you know about your body and your body type and everything that I just said. So if you think you can only build half a pound of muscle a month, I suggest eating in a 50 calorie surplus. If you think you can build a pound, then 100 calorie surplus. For 1.5 pounds of muscle a month, eat 150 calories. For 2 pounds of muscle a month, eat 200 calories. And then adjust these numbers based off of the aforementioned factors. So for a female who's like average height and weight, intermediate lifter, average genetics, you can probably expect to build about a pound of muscle a month. So I would just add 100 calories on top of what you are currently eating to maintain your weight. So let's say you're a male and you're a beginner, so you're gonna get newbie gains, and you also have good genetics, like your dad and your brother are totally jacked and they didn't have to work that hard to build muscle. You can probably gain 2 pounds of muscle per month. Maybe even more, considering you have all of that going for you. You might want to start with a 300 calorie surplus and then adjust from there based on the results that you're seeing. And then from there, you want to measure your progress and adjust accordingly. And I'll talk about how to measure progress in just a second. But if after 4 weeks you appear to have gained no observable fat, then you can probably bump your calorie intake up by like 50 to 100 calories. But if you've realized that you've started gaining some fat, then you might want to scale it back a little bit. But this is why precision matters in this, is because we're talking about very small ranges of calories. You're not just adding an extra 1,000 calories and it doesn't matter if some days it's 700 calories and some days it's 1,200 extra calories. Like, we're talking small differences, which is why precision is so important. And just as a quick note, I'm not saying it's wrong to eat in a 500 plus calorie surplus in an attempt to build muscle. While the average person probably doesn't need to do that, there are some people that need to eat in a much bigger surplus in order to build muscle. Oftentimes, if you are eating in a 1,000 calorie surplus, you're probably not as focused on really keeping that fat gain to a minimum. Like, you're probably not gonna be mad if you gain like 2 pounds of fat while you gain 8 pounds of muscle. So like, it's really up to you how precise you want to be or how aggressive you want to be. I'm mostly talking to people that are scared to bulk because they're afraid of gaining even an ounce of fat, and I want to help try to minimize that fat gain so that they can actually just go out there and build muscle and get strong and do all of the things that they want to do and reach their goals. So that's calories. That's like 80% of the important part, but let's break this down a little bit more. What your calories are composed of can also influence how much muscle versus fat you put on when you're in a surplus. The two important macros here are protein and carbs. For protein, you want to aim to eat between at least 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of lean body mass. Protein is literally the building blocks of muscle, so if you're not eating enough protein, your body's not going to have enough building blocks to turn the surplus into muscle. And there are plenty of studies to suggest that eating in a surplus with more protein is more likely to reduce fat and build muscle than a surplus with less protein. And then you also want to make sure you're eating enough carbs. Carbs are your body's main source of fuel. The more carbs you eat, the more fuel and energy you're going to have, which is going to translate to better, more efficient, more effective workouts, which is going to translate to building more muscle overall. Carbs are also protein sparing, which means that the body is going to prioritize breaking down carbs for fuel rather than breaking down your muscle tissue for fuel. The last thing that you want when you're trying to maximize muscle building is for your body to be breaking down muscle. While your body can build muscle on a low-carb diet, there is a lot of research to show that a low-carb diet does negatively impact the body's ability to build muscle. And this study here shows that if you're in a surplus, your body is more likely to turn the surplus calories into fat if you are eating a lower-carb diet. So that's your nutrition. Let's talk training to optimize muscle growth. So the key with training is you need to be resistance training. That is just how you build muscle. That is the type of exercise that sends the muscle building signal to the body. So this means lifting heavy in the 3 to 15-ish rep range. Studies do show it can go up to 30 reps, but I like to stay in about 3 to 15 for about 3 to 6 sets. And you want to pick a heavy weight, but heavy is relative. So 5 pounds might be heavy for you, 100 pounds might be heavy for you. Whatever weight means you can do all of the prescribed reps and 1 to 2 more reps with good form before your form breaks down. If you can do twice as many reps as you're supposed to, then you're not lifting heavy. And then you need to make sure you're applying progressive overload, which is just the gradual increase of stress on the muscles during weight training, or increasing volume being reps times sets times weight over time. And then as far as training frequency goes, this is really important because I often see people that are afraid of gaining fat go into a surplus and then just drastically increase their training to avoid gaining fat. But if you increase your calories and increase your training, you're now not in a surplus. You're not doing anything. You're just overtraining now. And as you can see from this graph from Ogasawara et al., you do get diminishing returns as you increase your total volume. So the optimal amount of progress is going to be made from about 8 to 15 sets per muscle group. Once you go beyond that, you start decreasing your rate of protein synthesis, which means if you're in a surplus, you're building less muscle, which means that surplus is going to get turned into fat. And then lastly for training, I recommend minimizing cardio. You don't have to cut it all out completely, but cardio and lifting send opposing signals to the body. Cardio is catabolic, meaning it breaks down. Muscle is anabolic, meaning it builds. So if you're sending opposite signals, you're kind of working against yourself when it comes to building muscle specifically. Do not go into a surplus to build muscle and then add an hour of cardio a day because you're scared of the surplus. There's literally no point. Don't do it. Now let's talk recovery. The better your body can recover from your training, the easier it is going to be for your body to take your surplus and build it into muscle. I just made a whole video all about optimizing recovery, so I'll leave that linked down in the description box below, but I think the number one thing that I want to cover here is sleep. First of all, the better your sleep, the more efficient your workouts are going to be. A 1994 study from Riley and Piercy observed significant reductions in strength, endurance, performance, and total volume load on compound exercises such as bench press, deadlift, leg press, when subjects were in a sleep-restricted state. This is obviously not optimal if you are trying to build muscle. But how much sleep you get also impacts how much muscle and how much fat you might gain in a surplus. In this 2020 study in the Journal of Sports Medicine and Physical Fitness, a group of 23 untrained but healthy individuals were divided into either exercise with sleep optimization program or exercise only groups. Both groups performed a whole body resistance program twice a week for 10 weeks. The sleep optimization group received sleep health education on how to improve the quality and quantity of their sleep. After 10 weeks of training, the group that got the sleep education increased their lean body mass by 3.7 pounds, while the exercise only group only increased by 2.9 pounds. More significantly, the sleep group lost 4 pounds of fat mass, while the exercise only group gained 1.8 pounds of fat mass. So same resistance training program, entirely different results due just to the quality and quantity of their sleep. Y'all don't take this seriously. I see you down in the comment section being, haha, Marissa's talking about sleep and it's 4 a.m. and I'm only gonna get 4 hours of sleep. Go to bed. Like, don't watch my video, go to bed. So I do have lots of videos on how to improve sleep quality, but to quickly cover the highlights. First, minimizing blue light before bed, going just by candlelight, turning your screens red, and using night shift to reduce the blue light from your screens, putting on blue blocking glasses. All of these things can really help help minimize blue light and improve your sleep quality. I like to use red light therapy before I go to bed if I know that I really want to get my sleep locked in. Also, optimizing the temperature in your bedroom, keeping your room around 68 degrees will help with sleep quality a lot. Okay, last thing that I want to cover is how to track your progress to see if you are on the right track with the calories that you're consuming. The first way of tracking your progress is with your weight. I recommend stepping on the scale as frequently as you feel comfortable with, so anywhere from every day to once a week. But it's important to keep in mind that there are so many factors that influence how your weight fluctuates. Your weight is not the end-all be-all picture of your progress. Water retention, what you ate, time of day, how much sodium you've consumed lately, if your carbs have been a lot different, like how much fiber you had the night before, whether or not you've gone to the bathroom. All of these things can cause huge fluctuations in your weight. And so you can't take the day-to-day fluctuations as any indicator of anything. It's also important to remember that your weight should be increasing if you are trying to build muscle. So if you are going to be using weight as a metric of progress, you have to be okay with seeing that number go up, because that means you're going in the actual right direction. And the rate of increase that you should be looking for is, on a whole, overall, over the course of a couple weeks, a trend of about 1 to 2 pounds per month. One of my favorite ways of tracking progress when you are actively trying to build muscle is with progress pictures. Take pictures once a week or once a month so that you can compare them visually to see if you have noticed any changes. Remember to make sure you're using the same lighting, same outfit, same angle, etc., so that that isn't throwing everything off. The next metric of tracking is with measurements. I recommend measuring your waist and any other part of your body. If your waist is staying the same, but your other measurements are increasing, that's a good indicator that you're putting on muscle without putting on fat, because you shouldn't probably be building too much muscle in your core. There's not a lot of muscle to build there. So if your waist is staying the same, you're probably not putting on fat. But if the other measurements are increasing, it's probably because you're putting on muscle. You can also track body fat percentage. I have one of those at-home scales that tells you your body fat percentage. Big disclaimer, they're not super accurate, but they are reasonably good at showing trends. So over time, whether or not your body fat percentage is increasing or decreasing. Ideally, if you're trying to build muscle and put on minimal body fat, your body fat percentage should stay roughly the same or even start decreasing. If you're just putting on muscle and no body fat, which would be really nice, then your body fat percentage is going to go down. But remember, you need to look at the 3 to 4 week trends for any of these metrics. Day-to-day fluctuations are not reliable metrics of progress. I also recommend using a combination of at least 2 of these because none of them in themselves can give you the whole picture. So you can basically use these metrics to decide if the size of your calorie surplus is appropriate or if you need to adjust it. You know, if over 2 to 3 months you were expecting to gain 1 pound of muscle per month, but the scale has gone up 6 pounds and you're looking less lean in your progress pictures, then you might want to scale back the size of your calorie surplus. But if over 2 to 3 months your weight has stayed the same and your measurements have stayed the same and you don't look any different in your progress pictures, then you might want to up your calories a bit. Remember, if you're not gaining weight, probably not doing it right. And lastly, remember, this will be a slow process. You think losing fat is slow? Like a reasonable rate of fat loss for most people is like 4 pounds a month. Reasonable weight of muscle gain is 2 pounds or less. So it's gonna be slow. You have to be in it for the long haul, especially if you're trying to toe that line of putting on muscle without gaining fat. So give it time, enjoy the process, just focus on like getting stronger, feeling better, focus on prioritizing your sleep and just feeling good and healthy. Because again, the healthier you are, the better your body's gonna respond to the surplus. So I hope this video was helpful for some of you. I hope it gives you the confidence to go into a bulk knowing there are things that you can do to minimize fat gain. I could talk forever about all of the amazing benefits of actually allowing yourself to kind of shift that mindset away from constantly trying to lose fat and finally into like building strength, building muscle, getting stronger, like feeling better, like, it's so good. But this video's been long enough, so I will hold back. Make sure you do click the link in the description to get your free 1-month trial of MyFitnessPal Premium. If you have any extra tips to share, please leave them down in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. It really does support me and my channel. I really genuinely appreciate it. Please share this video with your friends, your family, your neighbors, and anyone you think would benefit from seeing it. If you want to see more videos about health and fitness, you can check them out over here. Hit that subscribe button to see future videos from me. And also make sure you stay tuned because I'm coming out with a course on reverse dieting at the beginning of July. Yay! Follow my new Instagram, Holistic Fitness Labs, to stay in the loop and learn more. Okay, that's it. I'm going now. Goodbye!